and the Board of Governors, it is my privilege and honour to present to you Grand Chief Wilton Littlechild so that you may confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
I would now like to ask Dr. Littlechild to address the convocation.
Ran totentik nigan kahkiog tatamskadnao mioasen umutanots kapiak utsogi uskayak exnamagostik exnanaskomon. Je voudrais remercier à tous. I want to begin by congratulating all of you in my language and also to acknowledge the territory we're on. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. President and Vice Chancellor, honored platform guests, graduating class of 2018, and family and friends. Please join me, first of all, in congratulating you and especially the graduates, the class of 2018. What you commemorate here today has been a team effort. Yes, at times it was not easy, but you persevered, and today we celebrate your success. You are graduating at a time in our country where you are so very, very important. For 6.5 years, I was engaged as a commissioner on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, the result of the largest class action lawsuit in Canadian legal history. With a court-ordered mandate, we were tasked to find out what happens to a child when you take them away from their parents and put them in an institution for years. Indeed, what happens to the parents from whom you've taken the children? And what happens to the children who come after? We heard from approximately 7,000 survivors. We heard stories of the most horrific abuse to children, children whose identity was taken, names were changed, hair was cut, a very spiritual assault. Traditional clothing were taken. This was a legislated form of assimilation. The Indian residential school story was the darkest, most unknown, saddest chapter in Canadian history. We were asked by the courts to find out what happened. I heard the most horrific stories of lived experiences, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, the cultural abuse, the spiritual abuse, and worst of all, the sexual abuse. I was there too. I was number 65. 65, come here, you dummy. Or 65, pick up that pencil, stupid. 65, why did you do that, you idiot? What happens to the child when you do that to them when they're little and growing up? The Prime Minister of Canada, when he apologized to the student survivors, stated, "Great harm was done." The Pope added that he regretted this ever happened and should not have happened. What the courts did not ask us to do was to look into the children that never came home, those that drowned or froze to death, running away from the schools, running away from the abuse. There's a picture etched in my mind of 4 little boys huddled together, frozen to death, as they were trying to run away from school. I remember a mother in tears in front of me say, "The last thing I remember of my little girl as I was holding on to her, and the Indian agent took one arm, the police took the other one. That's the last time I saw my little girl. Mr. Commissioner, you go find her." Was there anything good in this story, this dark history? Yes, there was. There are those who said, "I got an education. I learned a new language. I made new friends that became members of my extended family." For some of us, we found sports, or sports found us, as you heard. Sports became a safe haven, a method of survival. There are those who stated, "If it wasn't for sports, I would have never made it." I have witnessed since the power of sports to heal. Also now, the power of sport to advance reconciliation. You see, not everyone was bad, and not everything was bad. So why is this important? We were ordered by the courts to designate a path to reconciliation. When we did our interim report, we stated that the Indian residential school policy was a direct assault on our children, our languages, our families, our cultures, and our communities. You see, the stated purpose of the Indian residential school policy was to kill the Indian in the child. Given this truth of what happened, how do we restore respectful